it wasn't until I had my first son, he's now 9 years old, but he was about a year old when I finally kind of just dropped to my knees, like praying to God, please help me find a solution, help me to do things differently, help me to contribute more to my family, to my purpose, to the world. And I found myself learning more about online business. I brought my healing work online. I started helping people through Zoom and doing distance energy healing, which turned into coaching, which turned into group programs, which turned into memberships, which turned into retreats. And, you can kind of get the picture is like it started to really grow.
Welcome to Lovely Esteem. I'm Lovely, the auntie you always wanted, the sister girlfriend you didn't know you needed, honey. You got to have self-love to have self-esteem. And here we know that God don't make no junk. So we're going to sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it, baby. Let's do it. Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome back to a new episode of the Healing Through Conversations podcast. I feel like today's conversation is going to be so meaty, so good. Today I'm going to be talking to Miss Emily Aarons. Miss Emily Aarons is a spiritual coach. She does a lot of work around spiritual healing for entrepreneurs, helping women who are in leadership roles really connect with themselves, heal a lot of the trauma that's within them so that they understand how that healing plays a part in their businesses, how it plays a part in their lives, and how working towards this greater good within yourself is not only healing to you, it's healing to everything that you connect with, everything that you touch. I'm just going to say I may be a little excited. Don't come for me. I don't even drink coffee like that. When we talk about spirituality, I get a little excited. So enjoy the podcast. Okay. Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome to the Healing Through Conversations podcast. I feel so blessed to have you guys come back to another episode. We are on part 2 of season 4. So Emily Aarons she's the premiere of our part 2. And which is number 14. Roll them dice, baby. So I appreciate what Emily is doing. When I do research on every guest that comes on, it's really because I want to understand the language that you're going to be speaking, but I also want to understand what makes you happy, what brings you joy. I try to figure that out through bios, which is sometimes so hard. But what I really loved and connected with was the spirituality part of being an entrepreneur and how that connects with your mental health so deeply.
Yeah.
And how your mindset and your soul and your spirit and your emotions have to connect in such a genuine way in order for you to prosper. Because when you don't pay attention to the energy around you, when you don't catch the vibes, as the young kids say, a lot of the times you can get lost and you lose the spirit that helped propel you to this great place in your life. And I feel like for this second half of the 4th season, I really want to dig into how our spirits from past lives to present lives to future lives really plays such a huge part in who we become. So I really appreciate Emily for being on here. Thank you so much for being on here, Emily. Please introduce us to all of the wonderful things that you do.
Well, thank you for the warm introduction and the warm welcome. And I am so honored. It's always such a privilege to be able to connect with new people, new audiences. So thank you for letting me do one of my favorite things. I am definitely somebody who loves to talk about spirituality and business and mindset, and joy. I've been an energy healer for almost 25 years. And I have also been an entrepreneur almost all that time as well, and also kind of in and out of corporate jobs. I started off my healing career right after high school, went into learning massage therapy, energy healing. And then after I finished that, I went into college. I did it, I think, everything backwards in my life. And that sort of suited me well, even though I didn't quite celebrate how much I had accomplished as a young adolescent or teen or 20 something. I started my first business when I was 22. And at that time, I thought I was behind. Everyone else was in college, you know? So, I recognize these things now. And I also didn't think I was born intuitive. I didn't recognize my gifts. And when I had intuitive hits, everyone around me was like, no, that's not a thing. And so I was always kind of dismissed and I kind of shrank down. It wasn't until I went to learn about massage and energy healing that really brought me back into myself and finding my home, and even yoga, finding my home on the mat, finding myself. And um, it actually was interesting because I grew up sort of mixed religion as well. I grew up Jewish, and then my dad went Buddhist, and then he married a Christian woman. So I had like this smorgasbord, and it was like, actually, energy was how I found faith and how I found connection to source, to God. And it's a funny thing. Like, I guess I missed that in this lifetime. But I have so much faith and I have so much connection. And through my time as an energy practitioner and as a business person, I started to bring my work into a place where, I always knew I was here to help other people since I was a young girl. And it was like, but how? I mean, I can do this like one-to-one thing, but I didn't really know how I was supposed to do what I was here to do. And it wasn't until I had my first son, he's now 9 years old, but he was about a year old when I finally kind of just dropped to my knees, like praying to God, please help me find a solution, help me to do things differently, help me to contribute more to my family, to my purpose, to the world. And I found myself learning more about online business. I brought my healing work online. I started helping people through Zoom and doing distance energy healing, which turned into coaching, which turned into group programs, which turned into memberships, which turned into retreats. And, you can kind of get the picture, is like it started to really grow. And that first year I went online, I ended up 10xing my business revenue. Like, it blew up for me. And I was like, well, damn, I guess that worked. And it was because I started to really listen to my intuition. I basically said, listen, I'm kind of at that rock bottom. Like, I don't think it can get worse than this financially and spiritually. And I just said, like, I'm going to just think differently. I'm going to be differently. Everything I've done up until this point, it got me here, but it's time to do things differently. And so I just started to trust my instincts in a new way, and using meditation as a method to get out of my head and as a method to open up my intuitive insights to create new programming. And it all started working. And so I was like, well, now everyone wants to know, how did I do it? So I've really been known very well to help spiritual coaches, healers, leaders to blend spirituality with their business strategy to grow phenomenal businesses. And most recently, I've also been pushed by spirit to stop playing so small. Don't be a course creator. You're not just a course creator. You are a leader. You are a healer for leaders. And so really getting that spiritual dope slap kick in the pants to be like, get out there, start networking with more female leaders, start having bigger conversations about conscious leadership, about really doing deeper soulful healing, so that the leaders who are out there are leading from this place that they're trauma informed and they are here to help other people from a place of healing within themselves. And that's what I get really lit up about and really fired up about these days. So there's been an evolution, but that's the long story to the short question.
No, I love it. I always tell my husband, he always says, oh, so you have a podcast today? And he'll say, how do you feel about it? And, I'll tell him, I did some research, and I'm very much my spirit is colors. So everybody, whenever I read a name, whenever I see a person, their colors that flash all the time, right?
I love that.
And I am one of those people where I tell people my intuition is living her fullest life. And I learned to do that younger. Like, I'm one of those people where if I'm driving down the road and my brain will go, oh, we can't take this exit. I don't take the exit. I figure whatever the rule is, it wasn't for me. If I'm going to be 15 minutes late, I'm going to make it to where I need to be. but this isn't my section. This isn't what I'm supposed to see. Maybe I was supposed to be behind somebody who was slower because they're preventing me from hurting myself, things like that.
Sure.
So intuition is huge for me. However, colors, right? So getting ready for the podcast today, I always listen to music and I dance. And I said to my husband, I was like, today is a yellow, orange, and red day. And he was like, oh, it's going to be a good day. I said, it's a super good day. Like, we are going to be so fired up today, because I feel like so many of us get stuck listening to the voices of people who have not done, people who have limited themselves because of fear. So that when you listen to your intuition teaches you about freedom. It teaches you about self-control. It teaches you to think bigger than what your little square is. It's outside of that square all the time.
Yes.
And I am one of those people who truly believe every conversation that I have, I'm supposed to have it. Some days I'm like a little funky and I'm like, I don't know about this. However, when a conversation comes up, you have hit so many different spaces in me, because I believe that consciousness, it's so hard nowadays, right? Because you have so many different layers. There's so many mask layers there. And some of the consciousness is consciousness, but it's not, because it isn't from within you. It's what you're feeding yourself every day that doesn't make sense to you, but you try to make it, you force it into this part of your life. So, okay. Sorry, I got excited. I was like, got to get the energy out. Get the energy out.
That's good.
Yes. So, one, you a banger. You going. I love this. This is gonna be a good podcast. This is gonna be a really good podcast.
I feel you. I'm like all in up. I've got goosebumps. I'm sweating. I'm happy. Like I like took off my glasses. Like I need to put my hair back. Like
look, don't worry about it. I scooted my wig back. I said, okay, this wig needs to go back a little bit. We got things to do. The fans on. We got stuff happening. There's lights everywhere. We're trying to work out. But I love what you said about how you take care of yourself and how you have to learn to listen to your spirits. I always call it ancestors. Whenever I have a gift that comes to me, 3:00 in the morning, whenever it is, I always say it's ancestors, spirit, or God, and none of them are going to lead me wrong.
Yeah.
My future self has led me wrong before. I will say that up front, because sometimes your fear will come back to you to mirror what you're dealing with right now, because it's unresolved.
I feel you so much on that. And I'm working through that currently. Yes. Yeah. We can come back to that.
No, so talk to us. Okay. So spiritual health.
Yeah.
When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you? Where did you start with your spiritual health when you started believing in these gifts that were really coming to you?
It really was at a young age. So, I mean, I was a teenager working odd jobs, and I would spend my money on books about crystals and aromatherapy and astrology. And like that is what always got me excited. And I'd be reading about like Sylvia Brown and mediumship. Like, I don't know, that was what got me really excited. So from a young age, I knew like that alternative health was really calling me. And it wasn't until I was around 18 when I found myself on a yoga mat for the first time. And then I started learning about energy healing. So that was kind of my first introduction. And I can remember learning energy healing. And I was like, how did I end up in this class? Like, this is not, I don't even know. Did I sign up for this? And I remember having a client in my student clinic who was so sensitive. And so every time, so the kind of energy work that I do, it's called polarity therapy. And it's kind of like if energy healing, like Reiki, people have heard of Reiki. If Reiki and acupuncture had a baby, that would be polarity. So you're moving up meridian lines, specific points, specific energy lines. And I remember moving the energy, not even touching her, moving it up these meridian lines, and her arm would flail and then her leg would jump. And I'm like, okay, this is a real thing then. Oh, and it started to kind of dawn on me that energy, like everything is energy, even though I logically have been learning this, I had to also really feel it in my bones and also visually see how this is happening. And I think at that time, kind of like The Secret came out, and What the Bleep Do We Know? And so I kind of immersed myself in this world, law of attraction and things like that. And little by little, I started to kind of open up, and I took a training about Akashic records years later. And as I'm learning, I'm having more of like I don't want to do it this way that my teachers teach me. I'm having this instinctive, this is the way that I'm going to do it. And I started to kind of develop, but then again, I had been doing energy healing at that point for like 15 years, and I was still in my spiritual closet, not fully identifying that
I
I'm,
love
oh,
that
yes,
t-shirt. Every I'm still in my spiritual closet. I love it.
yes.
Yeah.
We have that coming out. We all have that coming out. And we're like, listen, I like crystals and I'm not afraid to tell people about it. But when it was like 15 years in, and I'm still having these visceral fears of like, if I tell people that I'm this sensitive, that like my current clients are gonna leave me, my husband is gonna freak out, like it's not good. And then spirit was just like, you need to do this and go online and go start pulling cards for people and start telling people what you really do. And it was like the scariest thing that I've ever had to do. And I was like, well, what if it doesn't work and I can't pick up on anything? And I was great. And it was like such a huge successful thing that I did and continued to do. Then eventually Spirit was like, yeah, put the cards down. That's really cute. Put them down and just channel for people, be that open conduit. And I'm like, again, like, nah, I'm so scared of doing this. And again, just totally killed it. Like, so amazing. And little by little, I started to kind of like peel off the layers of hiding. And, you mentioned ancestors, and it's been really only in the last year that I've really connected so deeply with my ancestors that have helped me
Mm-hmm.
see that this is actually where the buck stops. Like this, I'm that generational break in the lineage of hiding. And, we don't have to hide anymore. We can be out, we can share our gifts. And actually, I can be this conduit for all the things that they couldn't do to
Mm-hmm.
come through now. And it's like, whoa, what a privilege. And like, that's also a lot, kind of simultaneously really.
It feels like you're being bullied. You're like, hey, I can only it's one at a time get in a line.
Yep. Yep, exactly. And so kind of like recognizing, and also it's been helpful with plant medicine journeys have helped me to really recognize and see the places I've been hiding or stuffed myself down or held myself back. And the more I can just accept that I am this clear, open channel of this is what I'm here to do. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
to help light activation, help other people with lighting up themselves so they can help other people, this ripple effect. Those kinds of things. It was like my intuition wasn't there initially, but it always was. I just
Yes.
didn't identify it.
Yes.
So I always tell people, if you think that you're not intuitive, it's like a muscle. Like we all go to work out, we all have technically the same abdominal muscles. We all technically have them. Some people, listen, I have a nice, like fluffy surrounding it, but we all technically have them.
Yes.
But when
Yes.
we work out, we have that definition. And so I look at our intuition the same way. And the working out is really sitting in silence. Meditation is like asking, prayer is listening. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
getting out in nature, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's running or cooking or polishing your nails or like whatever that is for you, to have that space to kind of get quiet, ask, listen. That develops that intuitive muscle. And the stronger it gets, the more you listen and you take, like you just said, you have that instinct of like, take that other turn. And if you were like, shut up, and I'm just going to keep going this way. Okay. Spirit's going to be like, fine. You don't want to listen? I
Yeah.
don't want to tell you anything.
And you never know when that spirit is going to act out. That's the thing that I love about, and I use I statements because I don't want to assume for anyone
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Learned that a long time ago. Learned that in sixth grade. You don't assume because you can be very wrong. For me, what my spirit has done for me throughout the earliest I can recall, really just understanding that it was a little bit different. I remember coming into the house, my mom and we all lived on like the first floor of an apartment. And I like walk in, I'm like, something smells. And my mother, one of her gifts is that she can smell everything. It's like the nuances of things. That's
Wow.
her huge gift. So she's like, I don't smell it. I said, something's dying in here. And she like stopped and she kind of looked at me. I was like 7, 8. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I can smell death. Something's happening in here.
Ooh.
And she was like, well, the cat just had kittens. Smell the cat, smell the kittens. I smell a kitten. I said, this kitten is dying. It's not doing well. I'm too young to know exactly what I'm saying, but I remember telling her, because when your parent recognizes you, like when the spirit recognizes the other spirit, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, instead of going, oh, you're acting crazy, you're weird. She said, all right, well, let's pay special attention to this kitten. The
Yeah.
kitten passes away.
Yeah.
And I say to her, okay. I said, the smell is gone. She said, okay. Fast forward about 6 months. My grandmother's sick in the house. We have to call 911. I call 911. They don't believe me. I'm a kid. The adults are in the background screaming. And as my grandmother is being carted off, I like look up at my aunt and I was like, her spirit, it just left.
Wow.
And when you're that young, you're so innocent. You
Right.
don't know that it's weird. You don't
Yeah.
know that it's
Yeah.
strange. You just,
Yeah.
this is my life.
Yes.
But I live in a space within my family where we believe in spirit, ancestry. We believe that nature takes care of you and can get you to different places. So I've always had a safe space
I
in
love
that,
that.
but it does not always resonate with the rest of the world. Like the
Sure.
rest of the world, because they're like, oh, scary. I'm like, how scary am I? I'm 5'3" and I wear heels, okay? Because I'm trying to look bigger so you don't come talk to me. But that is one of those things where the gift that you have, if it sometimes you just need people to not discourage it. It's not always that
Exactly.
they fan the flame for it, but to
Yeah.
not discourage it so that you don't feel like, oh, that's weird. Don't do that. Let me
Yeah.
hide in the closet.
Right. And I remember when I was young, I remember my grandfather in spirit would come to me all the time. And I would say this, I would all of a sudden like cry, tell my mom, Papa's here. And, I miss him. And she's like, Papa's been gone and he's not here. Don't worry about it. Just, it's okay. And it was always so dismissive. And so to have a family like yours that's like, okay, like say more, kind of leaning in versus like, no, 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 no. I like that is so cool. That is so cool.
And I always, one of the best things that, and what I learned from that was there's certain, I really talk about generational wealth, but not monetarily. I always talk about generational wealth, these strong threads that we connect so that our bridges stay connected through generations. And now with my children, like when they would be distressed, when COVID happened, one of my kids came to me and they're older and it was like, it's a shadow in the corner and I can't make it go away. And
Mm.
instead of saying, oh, you're just blah, 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 I said, okay, well, what does the shadow look like? What, like,
Mm.
how does it make you feel? Are you afraid? Does it happen when you're looking in the mirror? Are you facing the mirror? Like all these little things that we
Nuance. Yeah.
get to talk about so that way you can figure out what's going on. Or I have a lady who I work with and she'll come in, this is my dream. Tell me what the dream means. Now, sometimes you can tell because
Yeah.
the spirit will help you, but other
Yeah.
times you don't know. And that's when you get to research. That's what I love the most. Like when you were talking, I was reading Freud at 11, 12. I was not
No,
the cool
you
kid.
know.
I
Yeah.
was not the cool kid though. Like I
No,
knew
same. Yeah.
eh, like I was like, I really love to dress super nice, but if you ask me a question, like I fall right off the cool meter down into
Yeah.
she's a little strange.
Yeah.
But I love what you said about being in the closet spiritually. And I need to tell, like, we're not per se talking about religion, right?
No.
This is difference, right? This is your spirit is innately you. It's in
Mm.
you. It walks with you, talks to you. When you stand in grass, it connects with you. When you feel the hum of the earth going through your body, that waking up and just startled in the middle, your spirit, that's you.
Mm.
Everything else is subdivisions. However, we're
Mm.
talking about the spirit, your
Yeah.
innate, the innate broadness of who you are, all the
Mm.
way down to your bones and
Mm.
beyond what is tangible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's sometimes hard to know who we are because we're told who we are.
Yeah.
Whether it's through our family, of like this is who we are as a family, that means this is who you are within this confine. And sometimes it's hard when we're growing so much and learning more about ourselves. And if you're learning about Freud at 11, like you're a really introspective, really self-aware person. So if you know who you are and then you begin growing, sometimes you get to see, wow, you get to see who you are firsthand. And then it's about putting that projection outside of you so other people can see that too. And sometimes the people in our lives, again, where I was afraid is that I've kept this me kind of closed off from the rest of the world because I was afraid of sharing all of me for fear of
Mm-hmm.
judgment, for fear of being left behind, for like, I mean, all these fears. And when I started to be able to say, okay, this is who I am, not just my business, but like literally, I am this is who I am. And sharing that, there were people in my life that were like, no, no, you're not. That's not who you
Yes.
are. And we have to also honor that the people in our life sometimes hold us to an expectation of who we are to them. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't like it when we grow. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks in our life that really don't like it when we grow because it rubs up against them in the places that are really sensitive, that are like, no, because if you're that, then who am I? And then that, I don't understand that. And then you get this sort of friction that happens.
That's
And
good.
sometimes when you're growing, you find the people who you really resonate with. Like obviously this podcast, we just found each other like, oh, we're just geeking out, right? That click, that innate, oh, that high resonant
Like
energy.
when you start to itch, you're like, am I sweating already? It's like you haven't even started.
Right. And you find the people in your life that it's like, wow, it's harder to be with them. Our conversations don't flow like they used to. I feel drained after we've spent time together. And we have to pay attention to that energy as well, because
Mm-hmm.
once we really start to recognize ourselves and we value ourselves, then we can also set really strong boundaries. And this is a place where I see a lot of clients um, have difficulties, especially if you're a woman, where we've been told to kind of over give of ourselves, and that can resonate right into the heart chakra. When we
Mm-hmm.
over give, over love, that can really blow out that heart chakra. And so it's really hard to tell what is a yes, what is a
Mm-hmm.
no. So like I'm just going to keep saying yes to things because like I'm supposed to say yes to things. And like, I know they want me to do this, but like, it feels like a no, but I'm just going to go with the yes. And like the guilt and the shame, like, oh. So, when we start to identify who we are, we start to go, okay, well, we're going to start finding more people who are like us, like a magnet, like attracts like. You're going to find yourself connecting with people, doing different activities, finding people who are like-minded, like energy. And like you mentioned at the beginning, like that vibe that you find people at that same vibe level. And the people who aren't, they drop off. And sometimes it's forever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's only temporary. And then they're like, hey, you know what? I'm also doing some deep work on myself. Let's talk about it.
And that's where and for me, that is exactly so finding your spirit, understanding your spirit, and then keeping it. I need people to understand it doesn't always stay like that. There are lots
Mm.
of pauses, lots of breaks, lots of earthquakes that happen in between that time because we're still human. You still want
Mm.
to try to fit in. You want to be a part, not always of the cool kids, because that wasn't me, but like you're trying to be a part of now. You're trying
Yeah.
to be present. And sometimes when you're present, you get caught off guard because one of the things about your spiritual self, it protects you from a lot of the energy you don't need.
Mm.
And when there are cracks in your spiritual self, other energies come in. And if you haven't prepared yourself, if you don't know how to fight that off, energy touches energy and you start walking in a way that is not intended for you. Or when you
Mm.
are always trying to fix somebody else's problems, every problem wasn't meant for you to fix just because you know the answer. Sometimes you got to pass that on to the
Yeah.
next person so
Yep.
that your energy is used for the correct thing. And I loved when you said, you were trying to you had moments where people doubted you because
Mhm.
self-doubt, right? We
Oh
talk
yeah.
about that all, self-reflection. I was one of those people by the time I was like 14, 15. I'm like, I can't talk about this. I can't talk about the music that I listen to. I can't talk about what's going on at home. I can't talk about how I feel on the inside. So then one mask, two mask, three mask.
Mhm.
Next thing, you don't know who you are. And then when your life starts to feel irritated and it starts to rub you the wrong way, and you're taking all of these wrong paths, and you're trying to figure out, how can I get back to that 7-year-old self? How can I get back to that 9-year-old self? Because I
Mhm.
really believe that children tell you the truth so wholeheartedly, it will break
Oh
your
yeah.
whole soul wide open. But it's
Yeah.
because if you don't rub them the wrong way and you just allow their spirits to come through, because some of their spirits are part of your ancestry. Your
Mhm.
ancestry is telling you what needs to happen out of that child's mouth. And instead of saying, sit down, shut up, I don't have time for it, why are you crying? You
Mm.
need to move, I'm super busy. Sit down, listen to an ancestor, because I love when people say they have old eyes. It's the soul of an ancestor talking to you. They're looking at you. They're amazed at how far you've
Mm.
come,
Mm.
and they're staring at you. And that's why
Mm.
eye connection is so important. That's how come when you look at a baby and it connects with your every being, every fiber of who you are.
Mm.
That's why you feel all the goosies. That's why you fall in love and start paying for shit that you can't afford. And it never ends. It
Right.
never ends. But I love that like duality of, you still have to fight for this spiritual, it's a warfare that
Mm.
happens as you're growing and trying to figure out where you belong, and that push pull. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And it can be really challenging, especially for folks who are more awake to their spiritual self, their higher self, and who they are. If you know you're here for a bigger purpose and you know you're here to help others or to bring some light into the world, and you mentioned spiritual warfare, it's like, there is this energy about you, right? You beam this light. And the problem sometimes with folks like us, if we're beaming this light, and someone is like, I really would prefer if you turn your light down, it's getting a little too bright in here. Please stop that. Because if you imagine, like, I just cleaned my house today, so it's top of mind. So if I had like a flashlight and I shine it into the corner where there's cobwebs, like if I wasn't shining the light, I wouldn't have seen that. And so you have to also recognize that sometimes your light brings up people's stuff, their shadow side, their this things that they would rather not see and feel. And you trigger that in them, you bring that out of them. And for better or for worse, sometimes people don't want to see that. And so I don't know if you've had this experience as well, but throughout my life, there are people who've tried to snuff out the light of like,
Mm.
it's just too much. You're too much. You're too loud. You're too this. You're too that. And trying to snuff it out. And it's like, I just want to I'm like a golden retriever. I just want to be happy and be bright and be friends with people and like have fun stuff and eat great food. Like, can we just all like do that? And then some people are just like, no.
No.
No, actually. And so like that's fine. But I used to take it personally of like, wow, they don't like me, but because I was insecure of who I was. And I realized like that's not for me. Like you said, like not you're not here to fix all the broken birds. That's not for you. And also the lighter you get, the more you are making that impact. There are energies, just energies, not even people, but there are energies that are also like, actually, no, we don't want that on this planet right now or with people right now. And that happened to me a couple of years ago when Spirit kind of like dropped in the certification course that I was creating. It was like one day I woke up and it was right there in front of me. I fully downloaded the whole curriculum and the outline. I've never done something like that. I said to my husband, like, you're gonna need to take the kids for a few hours because like something's coming through and I have to write it all down. So when I started to put it together, I'm teaching energy healing and I'm teaching business within the confines of one certification. I would get to the module and the course outline and I would sit down and I'd go, I don't think I know enough about this to teach about it. I would have that thought. And when you have the thought, you're like, this isn't even my thought. I'm having a thought. I know.
That's not mine.
It's not mine. I would never think that. And then I would like have to reconcile, like clear my energy, start over. Okay, just do like, I don't know, 5 minutes, like write down some notes, start putting some slides together. And before you know it, I put together this banging like this module that I'm like, I forgot that I read those 10 books and then I remembered it and now I have all this more data. And then I'd be done. And I'm like, wow, I'm so knowledgeable. I can't believe it. And if I've been doing it for 2 decades. Of course I know what I'm talking about logically, like duh. Of course I know. Why would I even have that thought? Why would I even doubt myself? But it happened for me for 21 modules in a row because there's like this energy that's right. If I'm
I call it
saying,
Agent Smiths.
oh, tell
That's
me
what I call it.
more.
I call it Agent Smith. Not, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
I want to
listen.
hear.
So I always when the Matrix, right? The movie
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Matrix, right? The
yeah.
beginning, and my husband and I will like we always tell him he'll like get angry when we're driving. And I said, listen, I said sometimes you're angry at nothing. You're angry at a shadow. I said there are people who walk into a space to aggravate, to agitate,
Yeah.
and then they disappear. You can't find them. You don't see them. It's like they disappear into thin air. It's like when you're driving down the road and the crazy car's like going in and out and in and out,
Yes.
and then you get to the light and there's no car,
Right.
and you're like, okay,
What actually happened?
either I am hallucinating. I mean, I did not sleep well last night, or my husband always he'll laugh. He said it was a dark tent. Nobody's in that car. That car is here to figure out what spirit it wants to irritate today. But
Mm,
I believe that in life. It's like when you go to the store or you are out shopping and it's the one person who's loud and they complain about everything. It's like
yeah.
you're like, dude, I just want 2 avocados. Okay, I just want 2 mother flipping avocados. Why are we don't look at me? And
Yeah.
I've learned to block that because I know how sensitive energy is, right?
Yeah.
And when you start trying to combat this, and I always tell people, black isn't the energy that you're fighting, right? It's not
Mm,
always this like the darkness is bad. No, sometimes in darkness is beautiful. It lets you know the light is coming. It shows you
yeah.
the outlines and silhouettes of so many beautiful things. But there's certain energy that you're going to hit that looks like you. It talks like you. It
Mm,
walks like you. It sings like you. But then you have to look to see if it's like glitching a little bit, you know?
yes.
And that's what I call Agent Smith. It's the glitch, it's that terror in the day
Yes.
to figure out if you're really doing the spiritual work. It's that
Yeah.
mirror, right? Because I always, in the morning time, I do my makeup. That's my meditation. I do my
Mm,
makeup. I either listen to a book, a spiritual podcast, or I'll listen to trash music, whatever it takes. I get in my car, I set myself up, my playlist, my book. I get to my job. You get the best version of me because I took care of me before I
yes.
left my house.
Yes.
If I don't do any of those things,
Yeah.
you're going to get the glitch.
Yes.
Everybody isn't set up to do the work because they're not put here to do the work. They're put here to agitate and see how much work you're really putting into your spiritual
Yeah.
self. So that's my Agent Smith. That's
I love that. And the morning routine, I think that is something really interesting is the happiest people that I know are the ones who they take control of their day in that way. They do the things that make them happiest, whether it is doing their makeup or exercising or going for a walk or however that they start their day so that once they are interacting with the rest of the world, it is their best self. And the folks who are sort of receiving the day as it hits them, who are the sort of victims of the day of like
yes,
my kids this and my work that and my this that and it's like they get to the end of the day and they've been pummeled and they're
yes.
like I don't know, is there happiness? It's like, well, I don't know. I start my day in this way and for some people they're like, you do all of that, like I don't have the time for that. It's like, well, I don't have the time to feel like that. That's
I
what
do
I
not
don't
have
have
the
the
time
time
to
for.
feel like that.
Like life is really too short to not do what lights you up, what you love doing. And I have 2 young kids. One is almost 6, one is 9, and I have 2 dogs. I have a backyard farm. I have a season right now where it would probably look like I shouldn't have enough free time for myself or I should be strung out. And I could not feel more opposite.
Mm.
Somebody's like, oh my God, school's going back. How great is that? I'm like, I mean, it's great, but like we've had the best summer. We've been doing so much fun stuff and we've been having like I love having this time and I've actually worked way less and we're having just like days, just you have a day when you're just like, today was a day, it's like green lights, everybody's doing good. And of course, there's bickering because why not? You're little
Because we're alive.
because
Okay.
we're alive. Although I just saw somebody's post that said like young kids that bicker are, more intelligent or
Yes, I
something like
saw
that.
that too. And I'm like, mm.
Are you trying to make me feel better? Because if you are, it's working. Like,
I'm like, because let me tell you, my children are going to be amazing.
right, exactly.
Amazing.
PhD of life. Um, but to like that degree of, we can take we can be autonomous. We are ourselves. Like if you can start with being yourself, protecting your energy, starting your day in that space that you want to start it, then when you interact with people, you're a better human, make better decisions, you're clearer. You don't have to feel resentful of your kids or your job or whatever it is. I was out, we dropped the kids off a couple days ago at summer camp. My husband and I stopped at this little pond. We parked at a pond and we went fishing and we ran into this guy there. He's fishing too. And he was saying, yeah, I like to go fishing before I go to work. And I was like,
See?
listen, like that is so great. Like that is just so great to start your day. And it was like one of those beautiful, crisp fall mornings. The sun is shining. It's a little chilly in the air. I'm like, you are going to be the best employee ever today. Like I love that. And if we don't protect our energy, it is easy to get that other people's stuff. And so I actually did a workshop, like, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. And I sort of did this slide where it's like this person who starts the day with a white suit and she's like sparkly and she's like ready to go for her day. And every time she interacts with a client or somebody else, it's like a different color splatter on her white suit.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the end of the day, like, in the frame of the program, the context of the slide, it was about she's a coach, she's a healer, she's a leader. And so at the end of the day, you can really internalize that energy that's all over you and like, well, I'm not good enough. I'm obviously not a good enough coach or a healer because I feel awful. I feel drained. I feel
Mm-hmm.
exhausted. Like maybe I'm not cut out for this. And you internalize these thoughts, but it's really other people's energy. If you're not really on top of clearing your energy and knowing what is yours and what is not yours,
Mm-hmm.
it's really easy to get kind of swallowed whole.
Absolutely.
And there are people who like maybe not even ill intent, but people who kind of drain your energy, whether it is a conversation or an email or whatever kind of thing it is. And so it is really good to be mindful to clear your energy and to hold your container. And like you said, start your day in the best way possible for you. I love that
And,
idea.
and also understand that this is practice, right? This isn't just like out of the box, fresh out of the box on Christmas morning. This is the way I was. Because I've been the anxious mom, the over extended wife, the working overwhelmed employee. I've been all of those things, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't touch me at different times in my life, right? Because
Same.
depending on what season you're in your life, certain things are going to ramp up, some things calm down. And I was 26 with 3 kids under the age of 5.
Whew.
Okay, I probably looked like just I was going to say I looked like a butthole, but I was tight. I was tight and everything. And and if you have that perfectionist gene where you think as a parent, like every single move you make has to be the best move, you sometimes lose that gift of elation, that gift
Mm.
of exhilaration, that gift of that childlike joy. You forget what happiness looks like. And yes, you
Mm.
can still find happiness, but like internal happiness, where you see your child doing something that's childlike and you embrace that child at that moment instead of making
Mm.
the assumption that that child is supposed to be 29 and understand that this thing isn't working. So
Yeah.
like it takes time to figure that out. And sometimes, and what I for me, again, I statements, not you, me. always try to remember that therapy. I'm working, doing my thing these last few, 12, 13 years. But I had to start making the mornings enjoyable for the house. And
Yeah.
when mom is calm and dad is calm and the kids and they're calm, but you let them enjoy it. Oh, you want to
Yes.
watch your show?
Yeah.
Okay, you did everything you did. Here's
Yeah.
your show. You want to
Yeah.
go sit outside on the porch? You go sit outside on the porch. Oh, no, come back. It's
Who's
not
that?
you. It's me.
It's-
I tapped the table. It was me. It was but also learning how to have fun.
Hmm.
Maybe we leave out a little earlier and we stop and grab a muffin or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
learning how to, because sometimes calm is just 5 minutes. It's not
That's it.
always 20, 30, 40 an hour. I mean, my children are older now, so the mornings are mine because my children are all over 20. They're
Right.
all over 21 and they can all drink if they want to, but no, but like really just, and they
Yeah.
all are spiritually enlightened in very different ways. And also one of the big things that I've learned to do is I listen to them when they see me burnt out, they tell
Mm.
me.
Mm.
They read me so well.
Mm.
And I, even when they were little, my rule used to be don't cry, and not to not cry. I said, but if you can explain to me how you
Mm.
feel, then
Mm.
I will understand what I did wrong, so I can apologize directly for what I did wrong. And
Mm.
that was me trying to like break one of those generational threads, right?
Yes.
And that's hard
That
because
is so hard.
in the middle of to stop and be like, hey, so did I hurt your feelings?
Uh-huh.
Yes. How did I hurt your feelings so that I can not do that again?
Mm.
Because maybe we won't wind up here again.
Mm.
And that was like one of the big things that I did. And still now, if they say, Mom, such and such, I'm like, my bad, I did it. Like,
Yeah. But all of that, being a conscious, like first generation conscious parent
yes,
is such work. And I feel like we need like a support system of other people around us
I
because
feel like it's a lot of us out here. We're just scared to talk about it because people will be like, us bullshit. I don't want to talk about it. You don't really do that. Yeah, yeah, we
yeah,
do.
yeah. And I think that's the funny thing. It's like it's really challenging to do what you just described when because also you're probably super triggered because if it's loud and people are having big emotions, your inner child is like, I wasn't allowed to have big emotions. We shouldn't have big emotions. Please quiet it down. Please quiet down.
Keep
Please quiet
on
down.
it. Yes.
And your inner child is freaking the F out right now. And you're having to be like hyperventilating, like, okay, deep breath, deep breath. What is going on? Please use your words. Like it is so hard in the heat of the moment when they're
Yes.
having huge explosive feelings, not to quiet them, not to shame them, but to be like, tell me more. What is going on? And I have two young boys, and we literally this week I just got a magnet for the fridge of the emotion wheel.
I
So
love that. Yes.
so I said, I got you guys a gift. They're like, I was like, don't get too excited. It's not like, no, it's not ice cream. So I said, here's a motion wheel, let's say, because my 9-year-old is starting to have like hormonal rushes where all of a sudden he'll like have a rage. And he's
Yes.
like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I didn't mean to say that. I'm like, okay, okay. I think I'm okay now. But instead of it just being anger, well, within anger, there are a lot of other emotions in there that maybe that's what you're feeling. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's and the other day he goes, I don't care. I go, well, that's funny because people who don't care literally don't care. They wouldn't say I don't care. That tells me I don't care, tells me I care a lot.
So
I
much.
care so much right now. Like you just stormed out of the room caring all the way. So, having these conversations of having to keep your cool. And then like, listen, not all the time you can keep your cool and you can
No.
listen, I got really upset. And, I had a hard time because you were screaming and I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And that makes me feel really sad that I try so hard to give you the things that I didn't have. And I really want you to have a great life. And I feel maybe underappreciated, undervalued. And that really hurts my feelings. And, being able to have those conversations. And like you said, you are apologizing to your kids. Like my parents did not apologize ever. you weren't allowed to have feelings. Like it was all about what they were doing, and you were just like happened to be also
Yeah,
there.
you weren't even a main character in the movie.
No, no.
Sidebar,
Yeah,
sidebar,
exactly.
you know? And I agree with you so much. And, it's interesting, like my mom, when I started getting heavy into mental health, and I would call my mother and just talk to her about what I was doing, what I was going through.
Mm,
And, first, my mother's really big into church, really big into church. And I had to learn how to speak her language, right? Because all of us have these different languages. When people say, "Are you multilingual?" I'm like, depends on what we're talking about, right? Because I can be bilingual in a lot of places, but like when you're talking to somebody who was raised so different than you,
yeah.
there's a new language that you have to learn in order for y'all to communicate, just to even get for them to comprehend what you're saying. Because you can talk to a person until you're blue in the face. If they
Mhm.
can't comprehend what you're saying, it's never going to go through.
Mm,
So I'm talking to my mom. I'm explaining to her what I'm trying to do. And I at one point I had to let her know, this isn't an attack on church. This isn't an attack on religion. I
mm,
said, but I look at it this way. If God is the overseer of everything, let's just go with that. And if he knows my heart, that means he knows your heart. That means he knows the therapist's heart. He knows the psychiatrist's heart. He knows these people. And he created space for them to learn how to take care of us so that he helps those who help themselves. When I say
mm,
I'm hurting and I go to the doctor has the knowledge to help me not hurt anymore.
mm.
That's how I look at therapists, psychiatrists, spiritual leaders, spiritual healers. That's how I look at it. Because
Yeah.
when we are stuck in this space where you're so narrow-minded because all you can hear is your 5-year-old self being told, sit down, shut up, nobody
Mm.
asked you, we're not trying to hear that stays with you. So now you become a 15-year-old, you're defiant because
Yes.
everything I say, you're going to listen. And I'm going to say it at the top of my lungs, as loud as you can hear it. But nobody's still comprehending what you're saying because you haven't learned that your spirit, for me, my spirit was so quiet. It
Mm.
whispers and it disappears.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
I don't, I used to have to like catch the thought and try to hold it on. I don't know if you've done this,
Yeah.
that it'll start happening in your head and you're like, you stutter through life because you're like, I need to write it down. I
Yes.
need to do a memo.
Yes.
I was on the back of a paper towel. I'm sitting
Yeah.
on the toilet. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, how am I going to get this out? But it's because, and it starts to flow through you. So as I explained to my
Mm.
mom all of this, so now she'll call me and be like, so I was thinking about what you were saying. And she'll talk to me about her childhood. She'll talk to me
Mm.
about what she went through, which
Mm.
sometimes learning about your parents' trauma, triggers, and grief through their eyes, unrelated to you, helps you relate to them so much more
So much more.
because you realize, oh, you were human.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That
Yeah.
was amazing. So when did you become alive? When did you learn that you were a human? I don't know. So
It's true. And that's so powerful. And I would love to have those conversations with my parents. My parents are not available in that way.
mm.
And that's a beautiful conversation that you could have with your mom and be so reflective and open. And
It wasn't
when
always like that though. It was not
that's
always like that.
yeah, yeah. I'm not in that right now, and that's okay. It is
Yes.
okay. When I started, I think my son was about like 2 or 3, and I was like, how do you parent? Like, how do you do this? And I started to read books on parenting and like Dr. Shafali. I started reading about conscious parenting, and um, I read a book about really it's called Unconditional Parenting, which was really interesting because my parents withdrew love when
Mm.
they were upset with me. And
Mm.
so this book was really about that dynamic of like you can be unhappy or not like them in that moment and set a boundary and also love them and hug them
Mm-hmm.
and hold them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really changing for me. And more recently, maybe a couple years ago with Dr. Gabor Mate, The Myth of Normal, that book, oh my gosh, working through trauma and like
Uh-huh.
everybody's got it and like that. And I remember there was this one part because I always was like, well, I mean, I had things and I don't know. And one of the things he says is trauma isn't what happens to you, it's what happens inside of you. And that was so powerful. And even, maybe sometimes it wasn't what happened to you or what should have happened and didn't.
Mhm.
And these sort of experts, like you're saying, these experts, like they're doing the work, they're helping you to do the work so that you can continue to grow. It's so amazing to have resources like that. And
Yes.
like you said, to see your parents as people and
Yeah.
flawed and they're doing the best they can. We're doing and like, you're doing the best you can right now. And there's still going to be some stuff that they're going to be working on later in their life and then be like, that time that you did that thing and said that thing. And you're like, I know I'm traumatizing you right now and I don't know when it's going to happen and it's happening. I can't help it.
And I love that. But I think that that's one of like I'm 48, right? And so I'm like, all right, so we're like younger Gen X
Yeah. Yeah.
ish, right?
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, I feel like if explored and understood more, Gen X is absolutely, as you said before, we're ripping open these different portals.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, our children ask the questions that we wanted to ask, but we didn't know how to do it. We didn't have
Oh,
a safe space to do it, right?
yeah.
So for me, when I would like revert back to sit down and shut up, my thought was, A, what did they say that made you feel that way?
Mm.
Because it's then your children mirror you. It was just this study. Well, not just, it was a video I saw, but a study done. And I always reference because I love the brain and how the mind works. And they were talking about the connection between a mother and child. And I was having a conversation before with a girlfriend, and she was like, my son just knows when I'm angry. And her son is like 24, 25.
Mm.
I said, he spent 10 years in your body. He had every emotion that you've ever had, every food you've ever liked, everybody you've ever loved. He is absolutely spiritually connected to you and will forever be
Boy.
in your body. You will
Mm.
never get rid of his cells. They will live on in you forever until you are no longer here. And hopefully your spirit will recycle back into his life later so that he can become more connected with who he is. But I
Mm.
think as parents, sometimes we have this visceral reaction to challenge, because when we used to challenge, it was blocked so quickly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, hey, if I didn't get to get the answers, why should you get the answers? And you
Mm.
have to remember, I shouldn't be envious or jealous of my child, right?
Yeah.
But we have those emotions. We're human,
Yeah.
because there are times when you can look over at your child and go, damn, I wish I had your life.
Right.
Like we have those emotions, and I still think that that's to me is like, it proves that it is a proof that you're doing the work,
Yeah.
because healing is not linear, right?
No,
It's
it's
like
not.
a heartbeat, and it's a heartbeat when you're running and you know you shouldn't be, and half the time you're just breathing hard and praying that
Yes.
you don't tilt over. But I think that when we're talking about the spiritual realm and really like bringing in that piece to who you are, you cannot live without that piece.
Mm.
You cannot, you absolutely cannot be alive. You
Yeah.
can be here,
Yeah.
but to be alive and to see that and have your children sometimes stop and look back at you and say something that's so in your brain, it was never said out loud. And now you're like, well, who the hell's talking to you? Because I
Yeah.
thought I was special in this house. I thought it was me. Like,
Yeah. It's amazing to see them grow up. And I love hearing you in the season that you're in. And, you know, I love talking to friends and seeing these different sort of seasons as they go and getting advice. Like just this week, I was on like a walk and talk with a friend, and I was like, can we talk about this like mood flare up thing?
mm,
Um, and that in our conversation was what was the thing, because I had looked at those emotional wheels before that conversation and her telling me about, her 20 something year old now and back when he was this and articulating like the vast ray of emotions that boys are kind of only given these couple. You can have
Yes,
this, and this.
10.
No,
That's
no,
it.
no more.
Yes.
That's it. You can have these. Little girl, you can have so many,
Mhm.
all of
Too
them.
many. Pull it in,
Yeah,
baby. Pull it
right,
in.
right. And so I was like, that was the catalyst that got me to go, okay, I can take this action, and to have sort of a network of people around you that are in different seasons, but that can help you grow and learn more about, yourself and also them. Like, how can I do right by them and also right by me? So it's so fascinating. And I love what you said about like seeing the ancestors in them and getting, having wisdom coming through them.
Mhm.
Um, it I have said that my kids and my husband have been some of my greatest teachers, like watching them helping me to do better, helping me to do better in all of the different ways.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's not always easy. In fact, a lot of times it's really not
It's
easy.
really hard. And sometimes you drink your tears
Yeah.
because it feels like you're inadequate. It feels like it's an uphill battle. Sometimes
Mm,
it feels like you're on the island by yourself because
mm,
it feels like that everybody's against you, right? And I'm
mm,
like, when you feel like everybody's against you, take a moment, take some deep breaths, do some diaphragmatic breathing, right?
mm.
Take super deep breath, like when you were a little kid, when you used to tell a little kid, hey, take some deep breaths. I can't understand you when you're crying. You can take some deep breaths. Tell that to yourself because we
Yeah.
still have inner child
Yeah.
that we need to heal. We still have, you know, my one of the things that I study and I take to heart is that every time your spirit was broken, it
Mm,
stopped growing at that age, right?
mm,
And then if you weren't allowed to build a better bridge, if you weren't allowed to express any emotions, it damaged the foundation. So then we
mm,
built new ways to cope on top of rocky foundation. So it wasn't stable.
mm,
And you think about that throughout your life. So if you had something happened to you at 4, something happened to you at 7, something happened to you at 11, what if 11 for the 365 was the most horrible year you've ever had in your life, right?
mm.
And how many times your heart was broken and your spirit was broken and you were physically broken. That's a lot of healing that you have to do, right?
Mm.
And we don't get to grieve those things because grief is such a huge part of happiness. You have to grieve the loss of the
Yes.
life that you thought you were going to have so that you
Yes.
can get the life that you want. And that was a big thing for me. I'm like, I cannot damage these pure souls because I
Mm,
have darkness in me that I
mm,
haven't healed. And that wasn't easy because I'm a typical personality. I'm right. I studied it. I did the work. I got an A. And it's like, yeah, yeah. Logically, you're amazing. Emotionally, you're stunted. And you might want to, but and it took a lot of really hardcore work. And it took people like you who had alternative ways of looking at
mm,
life, right? Because
mm.
everything isn't straight and narrow. You need people who bend the light
Yes.
so that you can figure out what fits well into your life. Astrology was great for me
Isn't
because
it wild?
the
Oh,
numbers, the colors, the logic,
yes.
but mostly the earth.
Yeah.
You can't you can say it doesn't exist, a lot of things. But if you go outside and touch that tree is real. You touch that grass is real. The dirt is real. The animals are real. The sky is here. Now you can sleep on yourself if you talk about square the earth is flat around. I don't have time for that debate. It's above my pay grade. But there's certain things that you can't deny. And I think that for me, really learning how connected the animals were with nature
Mm,
and paying attention to that.
yes.
Because a lion is going to be a lion is going to be a lion. A rabbit is going to be a rabbit it's going to be a rabbit. It doesn't stray because a new rabbit showed up and was like, hey, I don't like that your teeth are so long. It's like, I'm going to
Right.
follow these teeth down, come hella high water, unless somebody takes me out of my habitat. And
Mm,
when you take a rabbit out of its habitat and you don't take care of it, what happens? The
mm,
teeth overgrown, the nails overgrow, they get heavier, they don't work so well. So that
right.
was like a big part of me growing, but it wasn't easy
Right.
because the world doesn't tell you to do that work. You got to kind of be self-driven sometimes, and that's hard because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's easier to be ignorant than it
I
is to
think
acknowledge.
it's way easier to be ignorant or to live a sort of a mediocre life.
Yeah.
And, I think we're used to mediocrity. We're used to almost like a lazy way of being. We have a
Mhm.
lot of emphasis, and this is a whole different topic, but a whole lot of emphasis with like drinking alcohol to solve your problems, like at the end of the day, and like numb out with this and numb out with that and don't feel. And when we actually look at what's going on, we can really discover. I mean, I had a client you mentioned about inner child, like she came to me to grow her business, and I ended up helping her process some incredible trauma that happened to her as a young adolescent when she was 12 and 13, and she had to move from um, Central America to the US, and like it wasn't her
Mm.
choice, and
Wow.
she got molested by an uncle in the same year, and then she came back to Central America as a new person, and like everything, like she didn't fit here, and now who is she? And she's had all this trauma and the walling off and the walling off, and I can't feel and the numb and I can't trust myself. Like it's
Mm.
like you said, the packing on the broken. It's like, and, it's like I'm finding these things. I physically feel it in my body. When I'm in her energy field, I can feel what she's not feeling.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's like, are you feeling it? No, I don't feel it. It's like, I am sobbing for you. I can feel this for you. And, even hearing her after, I was like, what a relief it was to get some of that stuff
Mm.
shifted and moved
Mm.
out. And it takes a lot of courage to really go there. And, it can be very upsetting. I mean, I have a friend who she did EMDR for a year, this deep type of
Yes.
therapy,
Yes.
and she was like
Yes.
it takes me out for a week to like integrate all these parts of me and to come back. And
Yes.
it's not easy. And so, I mean, for folks who are still listening right now, they are the folks who are likely doing the work and who are leaning into the discomfort and wanting to do the things to better themselves and to better the people in their lives. And yeah, I give you a lot of credit. I mean, we're all trying to do our best, I think.
Yeah, look, that's I had to get to a place, especially going to therapy. One, therapy gave me permission to be angry. And
Yes.
that was
Oh,
that was the breakthrough that I needed. Like people were like, "So what
yes.
was your breakthrough in mental health?" I was allowed to be angry. I said, because you have so many spaces as a woman where you have to eat crow. You
Yep.
suck in. That hurt me. You suck in. I don't like that.
Yep.
You suck in. I really
Yep.
don't want to do that. You feel it out.
Yeah.
You feel it, and you're trying to figure out. So why do I always have gas? Why is my stomach so full? Why are my, organs not working so good? Why can't I sleep well? Well, you can't sleep well because you spent all day saying yes to things that you didn't like. And now your brain is going, we don't really like those things. They don't make us feel safe. And now your brain is trying to figure out how to recalibrate itself to make the thing okay so you can fit into the space and you can be the mom and blah, 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 blah. And by the time you finish, it's 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. And now the alarm is going on at 5:01 and you want to know, where does sleep go? And why
Right.
does nobody love me?
Right.
Like, and that's the thing. So again, if you get to a place where you are thinking about really delving in deep into your spiritual self, reach out to people like Emily. Reach out to people who are currently doing the work, because you need people who are working on themselves
Hmm.
while they're working with you. Because
Yes.
if somebody tells you, I've done everything and I don't need any more work,
Yeah, that's a red flag.
that, babes, that flag is blinking. It
Yeah.
is, it's all in your face.
And I want to address that too, because, sometimes we go to therapy and we're like, I worked on my daddy issues. Everything is great now. And it's the way that spirit showed me about healing to help everybody. It's like a staircase, right? If you ever had to sweep a staircase, you sweep the bottom step. That is great. The bottom step is so nice and so clean, but there's a whole staircase above that that also has dirt and dust and some fur in it. And so that's part of the healing process is, and you might have had the daddy issues clean up on the bottom couple steps and you're feeling so good and you've worked on the self-esteem and the not enoughness. That's great. You're moving up the stairs. And then you get to like the 9th step and you're like, what? I thought I had worked on my daddy issues. Why are the daddy issues on the 9th step? This is bullshit. I thought I worked on that. And that's the thing. It's like, there's nothing wrong with you or your therapist or whatever you're doing, but you as a person are evolving, you are growing. And so daddy issues level 1 got a check mark. Daddy issues number 9 is now available for work. And so we have to look at it. It's like, we are growing and evolving, and like new level, new devil, like more money, more problems, like this. And this is the same thing. We're growing. And so there's a new level for us to look at. And so not to shy away or feel bad of like, damn it, I thought I took care of that. People come to me all the time and they're like, well, I thought I took care of that, that issue, that thing that happened before. Like, well, you did. This is a new version of you. This is a new level. And
Mhm.
especially with clients who are growing and making more money, making bigger
Mm.
impact, you're
Speak on
helping
it.
you're helping so many more people. And so your energy really has to do even more work on those things. So it's not like you're regressing, you're at a new level. And so there's so much that you can open up to. And so yes, we are always growing and evolving, and there's always more work to do. No one's ever done, ever,
Ever.
infinity. And you know what? Like, I have a little bone to pick with that. Like, I have this soul that's like, and why did I come back to do this work? This is not like a good look. Why are we doing this
I
still?
really thought this was going to be the soft life, and we are over it. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. So
no.
I do my best to just have the most fun and do more of what lights me up. And the last couple months, I feel like the universe has really opened up more ease for me. That was one of my words of this year. And, you know, letting go in my business, in my life, of things that were hard, difficult, pushing, grinding, anxious, stressful. And like, when letting that stuff go, you can open up for more ease. And
Yes.
it is like I'm a new person. And I think that's what I would invite people to do, is to find those places that like are easeful for you.
Mhm.
And the world is changing. We're shifting really out of this broken, wounded masculine model of hustling and grinding and achieve, improve yourself. You're going to start to see it already within yourself, but you're also going to see it on a massive global level as well. I'm seeing it with all these other leaders that I'm connected with too. You're probably in that season too, of like, oh, the divine feminine of ease and just like, I am, therefore the end. Like, we
The
are,
end. Yes.
that's it. And I love that, but it's also, we've been in the habit of hustling so hard and working so hard and having to solve problems and all of that. This is a new way of being, and this is a new
Yes.
normal. And sometimes ease can actually feel really scary and actually bring up a lot of trauma of like, I've been programmed since I was in vitro to have a chaotic life. So how do I
Yes.
know? Like, my brain is literally craving chaos hormones right now. I don't know how to sit still and go talk to a tree. Like, what is happening?
I so agree with
Uh,
you. That's why I tell people, ask yourself I statements, right?
yeah.
So one, if an issue comes up, ask yourself if you can fix it in the next 2 to 5 minutes. If you can't, it's above your pay grade at the moment. You got to put that to the side. Think about something different and ask yourself I statements. I don't do New Year's resolutions anymore,
Mm,
but I always have a statement. And this
mm.
year's statement was maybe I'm the problem. Ask
What?
myself so
That's
that way, because I was like, because when you go to lash out, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Was I in the space? Because sometimes when people come at you and they're going off, you have to, and then you take in the feelings and emotions. It
mhm.
wasn't for you to take. They were just trying to, you were a whiteboard and they were writing all these words, right?
Right.
And so now you as the whiteboard get to have you just regurgitate what they said back to you.
Yeah.
So then they can start erasing some of these things. But it's
Yeah.
not for you to take on. This isn't a permanent marker. It's a
Yeah.
whiteboard. You erase some
Yep.
of these things off. But it took a long time. And my husband, he'll be saying something like, maybe it's me. He like, Lee, it's not you. Just like, hey, I want to be cognitive that like not a conscious, not a narcissistic, maybe it's me. No.
No.
Am I the problem for real? And do I have a solution? Because if not, this energy isn't for me to extend. Like I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to be here to do that. And anyway, I'm taking up too much of your time, but I could talk about this, as you can tell, for a while. I love this topic so much
Yeah.
because I just feel like it connects us in ways that strong bridges connect us, right?
Mm.
Like you're somewhere in the world, I'm somewhere in the world. We're working on our spirit, but if our spirits ever met, they would connect and be so happy together, you know?
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that our lives look alike. It doesn't mean that we look alike. It doesn't mean that we like the same things all the time, but it's like those core grounded
Mm.
characteristics and values that you hold within you that you can't shake, right? I
Yeah.
like I can't not be this person if I
Right.
tried.
Yes.
And when I try to not be this person, it shows me how ugly the world can get because
Yeah.
I'm not being myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I've appreciated so much about this conversation, because you don't always get to have these conversations so open and broad, right? It's like, did somebody say ancestors? Oh no, we don't talk about that. You don't talk about that because the God said, I never said God was doing any of these different things. This wasn't even a conversation, because if we're talking about spiritual, we're talking about the person. If he created the person, I have to evaluate all the things about me to make sure that I am walking within my purpose. And walking in your purpose means that you have to peel away the ugly parts of who you are too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but
My,
tell us
my
where we can find you. Tell us where we can connect, where we can.
if you'd like to connect, I would love to connect. Like I said, I'm a golden retriever. So if you like this and you resonated with me, my website is emilyarons.com. I'm mostly on Instagram at Emily Aarons. I am also on Facebook too. Um, just say hi wherever you're at, however you're feeling drawn. I would love to connect. On my website, I have some meditations if you'd like those sorts of things. There's other stuff I've always got going on. And I'd love to hear more about you. What are you working on? Tell me about yourself. I'd love to just connect. And it's been such a great conversation. If you liked it, you want me back, let her know. Let's do this again. But lovely, thank you so much. This has been such a great, heartwarming, buzzy conversation, and just what a great day to spend my afternoon. Thank you, genuinely.
Thank you so much. You gave me feels. You gave me goosies at the beginning, and I was like, we're gonna just sit through this, because when I start sweating on the top of my lip, I know it's gonna be a good conversation. And I love that, because I just feel like it's it's not rare to find people with genuine emotions. It's rare for people to be vulnerable enough to share them. It's
Mm,
so many people who want to connect. It's so many people
mm,
who want to. And one of the things that I loved, when I was reading about you, sacred spaces, right?
mm,
Those sacred spaces. I call
mm,
them safe spaces in mental health. Those spaces allow you to have these type of conversations and feel like nobody's going to penetrate that. It
mm,
gives you room to grow. And when you have
mm,
safe spaces, sacred spaces to express your emotions in the most honest way that you know how, not your sister, not your mom, not your cousin, you know how, that's what helps you grow. Not the don't try to be Oprah, okay? That's not who we are. That's not your name. Use your name, be
mm.
yourself, and it makes you such a better person. And
Mm.
I'm so glad you guys were. This is so good. I'm telling you, I'm gonna break this up into so many pieces. There's so many t-shirt moments on here. Oh,
I love
so
that.
good, so good. Thank you so much, Emily. I
Thank you.
appreciated you being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey guys, what did I say? Did I not say that you were going to enjoy the podcast? Did I not say I was going to probably be a little bit hyper? Did I look, I try to warn you guys, okay? I know what's inside of me. And sometimes it's a bit much. Sometimes it's a bit much. Today it was not, because it was what was needed. I feel like when you get to talk to people who are doing the work, who can see the work that's being put out, who understands how energy and synergy plays such a huge part in our lives, how connecting with our inner thoughts, our inner wounds, our traumas, our successes, the celebrations, our ancestors, the God in you, how connecting with those things all bring together such a stronger, wholer person, but also understanding that we are going to fall, we're going to slip, we're not always doing these things right. Sometimes we don't have an idea of what right looks like for us, because each healing journey is its own category, it's its own niche, it's its own book, it's his own subcategory, right? And you could feel healed at the top, and you're like, oh, I've really worked on that thing. And you'll go about your life, and 20 years later, that same topic will smack you in your dang up face so bad, you feel like Mike Tyson looked at you, because he ain't even touched you. He just looked at you, and you think, what? That's what healing feels like. Healing feels like waking up in the middle of the night because your phone ringing and you just know somebody died, but then you find out no, it was the wrong number. That's what healing feels like sometimes. I'm just saying, like, when we're talking about getting ourselves together and really rooting for ourselves to be better so that we can be better to other people, that is a priority, right? Because you being the best version of you in the moment means that everybody else who touches you will see you as an example and want to be their best selves in the moment. And it becomes contagious, and we keep doing it, doing it and doing it and doing it well. And then sometimes we don't do it well and we got to start back over. But hey, you're alive. All right. And if you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it well and then starting over, that means you're blessed because you have another day to do better. You guys be good. And remember, please like, subscribe, follow, send a carrier pigeon, ask me some questions. I'll answer them. Sometimes it's going to be wrong, but I'm going to answer it anyway. Remember, we want to learn how to articulate our feelings, wants, needs, and desires so that we can better advocate for ourselves and the people that we love. Y'all be good. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.